Leo, welcome to your monthly Sidereal forecast for August of 2015. My name is Athen. So we've got a lot happening this month, a lot of activity in the astrology. I'm going to go ahead and go through it one by one here, starting with the beginning of the month. Right at the beginning, we have Saturn going station direct here in your third house. He recently went in here last month to help you finish up some things relating to communication, relating to learning, courses, books, writing, things of that nature, whatever it is for you personally, whatever you've been working on, generally speaking, in that area for the past 3 years, 2.5 to 3 years, while Saturn's been transiting this third house of yours. So he's going to be in here retrograde for pretty much the entire month. He's going back into your fourth here on the 29th. So for this month, anything else to redo, refinish, rework, put in those final nails into the projects that are relating to these third house matters is a good time to work with that. And this is Saturn's position in the chart too. As you'll notice, things relating to like career and stuff over the next many years will slowly start to improve. Sometimes with Saturn in the third house, it can feel like a little bit of pushing forward on that really strong day-to-day level and working really hard on that. But then once Saturn goes into your fourth again, setting those structures and foundations in your life relating to home and family and things like that. So that'll be the segue into next month. But this month, anything to finish up with that third house, I would really recommend. So that's the first and second. Then on the third, Jupiter squares up to that Saturn. Saturn's actually a very important player this month. And this is a Jupiter that is about to go into your guys' first house. I mean, technically it's in Leo, but if you do an even 30 degrees for each of the Zodiac signs, it's about to head in there. So you'll notice this transition this month going from more of the opportunities you've had for the past year in relation to spirituality, in relation to rest, relaxation, connecting to God, things like that, which is usually the case with Jupiter transiting 12th. A lot of wisdom about these things, a lot of wisdom about psychology perhaps, or the unconscious, stuff like that. But now he's going to be gearing up for that first house transit, which is very expansive time now for the next year, relating to opening your horizons, travel, philosophy, when it's about, getting out into nature and stuff like that. So a little more of an active energy. But this month in particular, still very much 12th house related, but you'll notice the segue slowly going more and more into the first. So that being said, that square from Jupiter is, a positive energy because Jupiter is very expansive. And when it contacts Saturn, who's a very serious energy, a very dense energy, tends to lift those things up a little bit. But the square does emphasize the importance of putting in any work, again, in relation to finishing up these third house matters and maybe even finishing up some of these spiritual things that you can put some final hard work into from Saturn in regards to before Jupiter transits into your first. And just generally taking things like your philosophy and stuff seriously. And Jupiter does naturally rule your self-expression, so taking that seriously, and also the ebb and flows of life, which is Jupiter ruling your 8th house. So that's the fourth, actually it's about the third, fourth. Also around that time, we've got Venus going retrograde back into your 12th house. So here, Venus did recently go into your first, and then she went retrograde. So perhaps there's some things you're relearning and just figuring out more about yourself and your self-image and how you come across, how you dress, perhaps things like that, which is Venus in the first. How you present yourself maybe at work too, and in your public life, which is Venus ruling your 10th. But she's going to go back into your 12th. So now this month, she's going to be there for pretty much the whole time, where you can really learn more about what you enjoy about peace, tranquility, spirituality, connecting to God, things like that. And that can be very enjoyable, but it'll come from wanting to learn more about those things. And since she does rule your 10th and your third house, your communications and your work, thinking about those things more on the spiritual level. Like, what does it mean to you? And making sure you're getting enough rest and relaxation in regards to those things. But that's going to be her going back in. But from the 4th through the 7th, we have an interesting configuration. We have a three-way conjunction, a stellium, here right on. This is going to be different, obviously, if you're watching this, depending on your birth time and your date of birth, if you're watching this for your sun sign. But still, in Leo, three-way conjunction here, very much having to do with your first house. When Jupiter and Mercury go in there, there's this three-way conjunction. So essentially what this means is with all this expansion to you, your first house and opportunities and stuff. Mercury here could really help you understand it and really apply it on a very practical level. And with Mercury in the first, I think things relating to your communications, exchanges, wanting to learn, things like that will certainly be highlighted. And the energy, I think you'll notice, will slowly start to build up as the month unfolds. Now keep in mind your ruler is still in the 12th house, but shifting into the actual sign of Leo. So as the sun gets closer to the actual equal house of your first, then you'll notice more of that vigor coming back. So it's this mixed bag for you. It's making sure you're getting enough of that rest, relaxation, and there's certainly opportunities with that stuff, the spiritual stuff. But at the same time, things are transitioning more on the outer opportunities with your goals, your drives, getting out there, expanding your horizons, things like that. And this three-way conjunction can really activate those types of things. Now, Venus does rule your 10th and 3rd, so there can be opportunities with career and communications this month. It's also enjoying the self-expression, ebb and flows of life, and even friends, and even maybe in the financial side of things could be quite well with Mercury ruling your 11th and your 2nd. So a lot of areas of life here. And all in all, anything next to Jupiter tends to make it quite expansive and opportunistic there. So that being said, this stellium is going to be squaring up to Saturn. So there's a seriousness to it. And like I said, Saturn is a major player this month. So, staying balanced, staying grounded, especially with the communication, day-to-day stuff, learning, that kind of thing. And that'll help ground a lot of this expansion. Because Jupiter and Saturn together can be very constructive. Jupiter expands, but without the constructive element of Saturn, the expansion doesn't really form into much. So this can make it very long-term and create some good, realistic things with that. So that's the beginning of the month up until around the 7th. Around that 7th time period, Mars does trine up to Saturn, so there is support coming in through the communication. And I think all of us in general should have a nice flow of energy. For you, again, it's more of this behind-the-scenes thing. Mars does go into your 12th house here around this time, 6th and 7th. So for the next 2.5 months, it's putting in energy towards spirituality, towards rest, relaxation, and this is a place where Mars kind of has to work. He kind of has to dredge a little bit here through the murkiness of this 12th house. So he prefers to be in your first house. He prefers to be in places where he can really assert himself. But if you're willing to do those spiritual things this month or tranquil things, then that can be a good way to unlock that energy in that present and perhaps even compassionate sort of way. And again, that can support a lot of your communications and things with that trine. So this trine is actually going to be the This is the second and final trine between these two, actually. So we're already quite familiar with this. We've been perhaps understanding more about how we can assert ourselves in a disciplined and grounded way, which is what this transit signifies. So that being said, that's the 6th and 7th. And then all's quiet in the astrology in terms of major aspects up until the 12th, in which time we have Mercury opposing up to Neptune from your 1st and your 7th house. So relationships are highlighted this month. Obviously, with all this activity in your 1st, here with Mercury, reminding you that, to stay balanced with relationships. Relationship stuff for you has been about trust, flow, letting go, having faith, things like that, not needing to figure everything out, especially with Mercury opposite Neptune. Try not to, get too caught up in the rational thing, trying to understand things too much. But a healthy dose of that in a balanced way could be nice, as long as you are tapping into that intuition and faith in regards to those relationships. And all in all, this month will be a month of balancing all this stuff you're involved with self, which is this transition into your 1st house with relationships. The classic example of balancing our intents with, others, and not going to any extreme with either of those. Asserting ourselves while at the same time not being too passive and getting involved in relationships without getting too self-oriented is basically the energy of that. And as long as we're doing that, then there can be a nice balance with this, and relationship stuff can flow quite smoothly. So that is Neptune, and then the 14th, we've got the new moon in the sign of Leo, but again, sign is house. Equal sign. It is in your 12th, technically speaking. So I think it's going to be a little bit of a blend of both for you. So in regards to this, definitely new beginnings around, for the next 6 months. Happy birthday for those of you watching this for your sun sign this month. This is, of course, sidereal, different from tropical astrology. Do keep that in mind. Check the description if you're new to this. But anyways, new beginnings there. And there is a spiritual connotation to it, though. Things are still behind the scenes. So understanding more about your psyche, spirituality, things like that, reflecting on the stuff, what it really means to you, your spiritual values, your deep values, which is Venus, very close to this new moon conjunction here. and starting new things around that. So a good time to reflect and take it easy, especially with the spiritual stuff, while there's a lot of expansion, I think, happening for you this month. So that's the 14th, and then all's quiet up until about the 21st in terms of major aspects. Then we have the sun going into that first house and that even 30-degree portion of it. So here we've got the sun, which is your ruler, going into the first house. So about late month and into September, you'll notice this vigor, this energy really expanding. And then we have a conjunction between your ruler, the sun, and Jupiter in your first house. So that's like double nice. I mean, it's nice to have Jupiter in the first house conjuncting up to your ruler in a place where he's in dignity is quite nice. So very nice, very expansive there. I think you guys are going to be very optimistic in general, depending on your personal charts, of course. But it can be some new things relating to the things you enjoy in life, your goals, your desires, your drives, pretty much anything that you're passionate about and excited about, which is your ruler, the sun. Expanding that stuff. And I think, again, self-expression should be quite nice. So very good there. That's about the 26th when that conjunction goes exact. Do keep in mind that conjunction is still squaring up to Saturn, so just stay balanced, like I've been saying, especially with the day-to-day communication and learning and stuff like that, or whatever you're working on here with the third house. Keeping both, staying grounded with both. And then on the 26th, that same time, Mercury does go into your second. So what's nice about this is you've had the North Node transiting your second, which has been about this year of moving towards your financial, self-reliant, material element of life. So Mercury here can help you understand a little bit more about that. And it's through that understanding, he's very well aspected in dignity here in Virgo, by the way, but there's a lot to learn about life path, and your life path can shift, and your life path can change, and it's all about how to live a more comfortable life, how to enjoy things more, how to be grateful for what you have, all this stuff, which has been the sort of behind the scenes energy, if you will, of the second house, again, depending on your personal chart. But North Node is not a personal planet, but this can make it quite personal. So being willing to learn more about your self-worth, your values, and things like that, I think will be a good way to work with this later part of the month. Then on the 29th, we've got Saturn, like I was saying, going back into your fourth house where he originally went retrograde. So now for the next 2.5 years, you've got Saturn here helping you discipline and create structures with the foundations in your life. This can sometimes be home and family and things relating to that, but anything that you consider a foundation or you're sentimentally connected to, it's a good time to build those structures now, so that when Saturn starts to build through the rest of your chart over the next many years, it takes him 28 years to do a complete, 29 years to do a complete cycle around your chart, building the foundations in your life so that you can start to enjoy the other areas of life from that, because he's at the bottom here. It's the beginning of his upward progression, so things will start to improve. If you've been noticing things kind of dredging along, and things around career and stuff will improve over the next many years, just based on wherever they're at now. It's just how it works. So, but focusing on home, family, past roots, things like that would be a good way to work with that. And this is a subtle energy. I think you guys will feel this more into September. Then we have the full moon in Aquarius, which is in that 7th house. So culmination point for you guys in regards to relationships and one-on-one connections, especially with anything new that got established in that area over the past 6 months. Can be a culmination of that. And so good time to reflect on that stuff, to enjoy it. Again, go with the flow, have that balance. There's a lot of expansion happening, but there's a lot of spiritual stuff going on with relationships. So finding the middle path with those, I think, will be a good way to work with it. Then on the 30th, about the 30th through the 1st, we've got an aspect I want to talk about. We got Venus conjoining up to Mars, which this will be going into September, but still, this is important in terms of what's going on behind the scenes, is that I think you're learning a lot about your values, and this is the deeper values, like I was saying. And so as a way to really assert that and direct that energy here when it is in that peaceful and compassionate and tranquil way, which is this 12th house energy. And at the same time that's happening, your ruler, the sun, is going to be opposing up to Neptune this late part of the month. So again, this is very important to have faith, trust, go with the flow, get that rest and relaxation, because I think there's a lot shifting up for you, and there will be more over the next year with Jupiter in that first house. So, Leo, have a nice month. If you guys have any questions, please do let me know. If you're new to Sidereal, do check the description, because your sign might be different if you're used to Western astrology. If you'd like a personal reading, do check out masteringthezodiac.com, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Take care.